Hey, welcome everyone. Now, in this video, excuse me, you would have, in the email that I sent you, you would have got a link to the Shortlist Matrix. So we're going to look at that right now. But the cool thing, what's going to happen here is we're going to move from the first step of the shortlist method called START into SMART, being step number 2, of course. Now, SMART means suburb matching and refinement tool. And that's what I love about this process now, is that we're going to take all of the concepts, the 2 to 3 property concepts that we've created in START, and turn them into, by the end of it, into a super focused shortlist comprising all the things that really matter to you, okay, both on paper and your preferences in here, okay. And this really is, I feel I actually get a little bit of goosebumps saying it, this is the special ingredient. This is how you do this remotely. Now, step 3 is where we check everything so that you trust it inside out. But this is the magic. This is where I always have this funnel motion. This is where it happens very quickly. All right. Now, the important thing that I want to mention is the 2 to 3 concepts that you've already created. They can be wildly different to each other, but they all have the same things in common, i.e., 1 specific price point and 5 essential items. All right, because what we're going to do now is convert it into the matrix sheet and then take it into a real life search. All right, and what we're going to be looking for, well, what you'll just naturally see going through this process yourself, you're going to see patterns occurring. And so if you've started this process not knowing what to buy and or where is ideally, you know, the real target zone for you, the ideal location for you, by the end of this step, the options are going to be black and white in front of you. Okay, and that's that amazing effect that takes place here. So just hop over the screen here very quickly. I'll give you a quick orientation of the matrix. Down the bottom here, the bottom tab is called obviously shortlist. That's where we'll get to. That's the outcome. There's a rejected folder, and then we have 1, 2, and 3 concept pages. They're the same. And simply what we do, we're going to start with concept number 1. Now, this is actually a recent live sheet that I took a client through, and we actually bought the property as well. And the interesting point to make here very briefly is that these clients, they went through the process very quickly, but when they first started, they were completely confused because their comfort price was way below what the bank were willing to lend them, and they weren't quite sure exactly what the property was to do for them. They knew they were going to rent the property out for the foreseeable future, but there was an element of it might become a base for them or the kids at some point in the future. So they had the emotional confusion, emotional versus investment confusion. And so, you know, first things first, and that's in START, we narrowed it down to, no, this is 100% an investment property. And we then created the 2 to 3 concepts at different price points in different locations so that we can compare them against each other. And then the outcome would be, okay, this is really what is important to us. It's as simple as that. Love it. Absolutely love it. Okay, so back to the worksheet. Concept number 1 is, so I've given you the layout of the concepts. What I wanted to show you very quickly, because this is a really important part of your search process when you're doing this, is let's start from the beginning, realestate.com. I use this. This is the dominant platform in Victoria. I suggest you start here. Now, this client, to give you some backbone here, they were looking for a house. We decided that, or they decided rather, that they wanted a house, and for their budget, they were toying with or without a car park. They obviously would prefer a car park, but they're not going to get a car park in their number 1 location for the budget. Okay, so to give you some clarity, we were looking at Paran, no car park. And then the compromise was going to be push out a few suburbs to like St Kilda, Elstonwick, and get a nice heritage home with a car park. And then the third concept was go north side to look for the same budget, heritage home, but we'll probably get an extra bedroom and a car park, so we can compare and see, like I say, what really does tick, get their juices flowing. All right, so start here. Let's go Richmond, and hop into the filters. Now, this was the mistake that they were making, that I see a lot of people make, is that they go very, very broad on their price range here. Okay. Look, Richmond, there's not going to be a huge amount of houses available anyway, so you do get that natural refinement process happening. Depending on what you're looking for and where, the price range is really, really important. But quite frankly, you're not going to get, anything much below 1.1, 1.2 anyway, up to that price of 1.3. Okay, search. Now, that's mistake number one, because what we need to actually do in filters is actually specify houses, okay, and press search. Now, this is straight away where one's search gets put under pressure a little bit. Is the algorithm on realestate.com is that it will first of all show you the properties that are matching your filters, but then it will start bleeding out into the other suburbs. And that's how easily, unless you're sticking to a very, very strict brief, it's very easy for the algorithm or real estate agents, sales agents, to start pulling you in different directions. And before you know it, you're way off of the original concept. All right, so I'm going to show you how to fix that. At this point here, you don't even start looking at properties, just hop into the map. Blimey, he's gone completely to Australia. So what we're really interested in is keeping it very on point to the concept. We're going to say Richmond and that inner area. It's actually even better on your phone, because you can be a lot more concentrated on the zoom. Right, this, because here it goes full stretch, and I know there is a selection tool somewhere, but you can hone in on really, really small locations. Go to list, and then all you would simply do is go down the list. Look at this, beautiful, straight away. This one jumps out straight away. All right, and I'm also referring to their concept, but so all you do is save this and add it to your concept, into your favorites. Create example number one, boom, saved in there. Okay, and you're going to repeat this process 3 times for all of your concepts. And FYI, for the first time that you actually do this, what's going to happen is you will end up with anywhere between 5 and 10 properties per concept. So in total, anywhere between 15 to 30 properties. All right. Now, and then what you're going to do with those properties, you're going to go through them to see if there's any obvious reasons why it's a no. All right. So, and the ways that you would do that is what you're already doing, going to these properties. But actually, this is actually a beauty. Look at this. Yeah, that's a fab property. Great location. That is good. 1.3 to 1.4. Pushing the budget, that's one of the other problems that you're going to have from afar is I know that's going to land over 1.5. And so straight away wouldn't even make the shortlist here, but that's another story entirely. So yeah, you're going to build out your concept sheet. So come over here to the matrix, build out each of the 3 concepts, and complete all of the information. All right. So like I said, there'll be anywhere between 15 and 30 properties, and enter them, put them in preference order, priority, your favorites, top to bottom. Because once this is all filled out, bit of admin, once it's all filled out, you're going to take the top 2 or 3 and move them into the shortlist folder. And then once they're in the shortlist page, again, I want you to go through them, study them a lot closer this time, and order them from top to bottom of your preferred choice. And a few things are going to really, really start happening here. Is you're going to start seeing some interesting patterns. You will, and this is where you start making the hard decisions. All right, because what you will start seeing is reality. Is what if there's properties in here, there may be no properties in Richmond with no car parks because none of them grabbed your attention. Right, but there could be 3 or 4 or 5 properties in let's say St Kilda area, St Kilda or Elstonwick sort of area, and this is how you go from vague ideas into a super fine shortlist, because it's giving you the handful, the 2 or 3 suburbs where your priorities fit, and that is the special ingredient here. And I absolutely love this formula. And because you can do this from afar, you do not have to be in Melbourne to do this. And I, I often talk about this, is that this is the virtual way of doing it. If you were in Melbourne, you would actually do this, but just in a manual process. And actually, it would take you weeks and weeks and weeks and months and months and months to do this manually and work it out yourself anyway. It's a process what I call smart compromise, where you are virtually learning to say no, and at the same time specifying exactly what you do want, which is so amazing, so cool. The next step in 360 is where we absolutely scrutinize every part of this. All right, but we're not even there yet. Stick to here. Okay, so you got your shortlist. Now, what you're going to do then is, again, you could have anywhere between 2, 4, 6, 5 to 8 properties. All right, and then from those 5 to 8, you're going to pick the top 2 or 3. And they're the focus properties. All right, you're going to really be able to define your shortlist at this point. And those 2 to 3 is the perfect stepping stone to then go into the 360, where we're going to, again, there is another step before we even go and inspect those properties. There is one more step, and it's a crucial step. It's probably, no, period. It is the most important step in all of the shortlist method steps. Is called a pre-inspection intelligence filter. Is where those 2 and 3 we're going to absolutely scrutinize before we go and take a look at them. All right, so that's cool. What are we at? We're 13 minutes. I'm just going to double check my sheet here to make sure I've not missed anything. Just bear with me a sec. Yeah. No, I'm pretty happy with that. I think we've covered absolutely everything. I always say, if there's any questions at this point, get in touch. You know how to get through to us. We absolutely love it. Like, it's just, genuinely, this is the exact framework that we take every single client through. And it's, trust me, I've done this for so long now, is where, I've taken Brendan and Luan, for example, from Singapore. I took them, they tried to do this themselves from Singapore, and they tried for 8 months and failed for a number of different reasons. And because I know it was 8 months because I spoke to them, but then they decided to try and do it on their own. They then later come back to me, and how long was it? 3.5 weeks. 3.5 weeks. It would have been within 3 weeks we made an offer on a property, and we went to auction. We missed out, and within 4.5 weeks we secured an incredible, within 1 month, 1.5 months, something like that. And it took them 8 months, and they were no further forward. And so that's how effective this process is if you follow every single step. Cool. Hey, listen, thanks for watching, and catch you on the next one. See ya.